Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, FPL Consult here, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you guys my Game Week 3 team selection. So as usual, we'll talk through how I did in Game Week 2, and then look ahead into Game Week 3 where I've already used one out of my 2 free transfers to replace Nkunku, so more on that in the next section, but hopefully you guys do enjoy this video, and if you do, please do drop a like and also subscribe as well if you are new around here. So just to quickly wrap up Game Week 2, because I did already go through my scores at the halfway mark of the Liverpool game in the transfer plans video, but to finish it up, I've added the points to Trent as well as Jota now, and of course Mohamed Salah went on to score in the second half of that game, so it's brought my rank down to 45k. I'm still very pleased with where I'm at in terms of total points scored, and I wouldn't bother too much about rank still because it is very condensed. I'm more concerned about how my team is looking and shaping up for the next few game weeks, and hopefully with the kind of transfer that I've already made, I'm able to open up more routes later on, so I'll share more on that. But for now, very pleased, I got 106 points, so I would say only Nkunku is the one that kind of disappointed me. I mean, Henderson, most of us have gone for him as the 4.5 million keeper, and I don't see myself making a keeper transfer, so I guess it's just a situation where I have to deal with Henderson when I wildcard. But for Nkunku, he was a bit of a disappointment. I did consider, but very slightly only, about starting João Pedro ahead of Nkunku, but overall it really was not something that I would have done because I did not know Nkunku wasn't going to start, right? So a bit of I guess hindsight bias that maybe I should have started João Pedro ahead of Nkunku, but now that this is the case and we know that Nkunku is someone that we cannot rely on for guaranteed minutes, I'm definitely going to deal with him going into Game Week 3. Aside from that, everyone else returned except Alexander Isak, who obviously because I have him and Gordon, I'm doubled up in Newcastle. They haven't been very convincing, so I really may have to rethink this double up here. And it also kind of plays into the transfer that I've made. So let's take a look now at my Game Week 3 team and share more a bit about why I've gone early with my transfer. So looking at my Game Week 3 team, in goal it's Henderson still. Again, I don't think I'm going to make a keeper transfer. I have other plans, like to bring Salah in come the time I want to captain him as well. So I don't think I'll be using free transfers to deal with the goalkeeper. And anyways, in Game Week 4, they do have Leicester. I mean, regardless, the Crystal Palace defense just does not look very solid right now. So I do think, like, hopefully by the time the transfer window closes, Mark Gahey is still at the club and he has not left for Newcastle. And if that's the case, then I think I'd be slightly more confident of the Crystal Palace defense against the easier fixtures that they have coming up. But Chelsea away, I'm really not expecting a clean sheet, so hopefully maybe some save points there. In defense, it's Trent, Porro and Robinson. Now, the only other defensive options I have on the bench is Johnson and Dunk. Now, Dunk obviously plays Arsenal, so I don't want to start him. Johnson playing for Ipswich against Fulham, where I think Ipswich will concede, looking at the way that they defended last week. So, looking at my Porro fixture here, Newcastle away, it is not ideal. But again, I do expect that to be a high-scoring game, and with how advanced Porro is, I really am banking on attacking returns here. May not be the most ideal, but again, when I look at all the clean sheet percentages for all the other teams as well, this week is a week where clean sheets are quite difficult in terms of the popular assets that we have. Even for Arsenal, who have the highest clean sheet percentages, they are playing Brighton, who are not too bad attackingly as well as we've seen. So I'm just happy to start Porro here. Not the best fixture, especially when I have double Newcastle in my attack later on. But it is what it is. I will be keeping him for now because in Game Week 5, I do have a fixture that I want to play him in, which is Brentford at home. So he will be here in the squad. And I guess Trent, just to speak about him, he has Manchester United away. He has not been getting 90 minutes every single week, which I think to me is a bit of a concern because I want him to get as many minutes as possible so that his attacking returns can truly come. But the thing is, he is getting subbed off at about the 70th minute every other game. And for Conor Bradley, of course, that could come down to him missing preseason and basically not being back to full fitness. But I would think that if I'm paying 7 million for a defender, it's great that the clean sheets are locked whenever he comes off at 70th minute. But with the number of goals that are scored in the later half of games, I would appreciate if he was playing for longer and getting attacking returns. So hopefully he does, and the expected assist numbers for him are really high. So hopefully that converts into returns as well. For Robinson against Ipswich, he has arguably the best fixture out of all my defenders here. So I'm hoping for great things from him. And aside from that, as I've mentioned, Johnson and Dunk will be on the bench. So let's take a look now at the midfielders. So in midfield, this is where you see that Nkunku has left the team and I've brought in Morgan Rogers. So this is the most popular transfer combination for this week. If you checked out the stats breakdown video, you would have seen that many people have also done this move. But specifically for my team, and I think maybe for quite a number of people as well, I want the extra 1.5 that I have in the bank because I do intend to bring Salah in soon. So that would kind of contribute to the 2.5 total that I would need to bring Saka up to Salah if I do want to do that. I also have other routes to get to Salah, for example selling Gordon as well as Isak in a combination move. So more on my future transfer plans after game week 3, but at least looking at the routes that I want later on, having this extra money in the bank for me is important. So that really kind of brought my budget down when I'm looking at replacements for Nkunku. I was no longer looking at the 6.5 million midfielders. So I practically took out, Bailey as well as Savinho, because Savinho, I think there is more risk for his minutes there. There's also other players at 6.5 like Madueke. But when I look at the game weeks that I would need this particular player, I would need to field Rogers in this case because I've brought Rogers in for at least the next 3 game weeks at least. So I want someone with good fixtures, yet I also want money in the bank. So I think Rogers just felt kind of straightforward to me, and I knew that I won't go anywhere else. So that's why I went early for it, and I made the move on Sunday before the price dropped for Nkunku. So that's why I have 1.5 in the bank, and that would be used later on. So for Rogers, playing Leicester away, I fully expect that he could get something there. 90 minutes for him in the first 2 games is really, really good, especially for what he offers, because he feels like he's just playing right behind Watkins, so closer to goal. And I think when I compare to Bailey's position as well, I think Rogers is the one that is slightly more central, so I do like that. So starting Rogers here against Leicester away. Now for the rest of my midfielders is Jota, Smith Rowe, Gordon and Saka, whom I've already had last week. For Jota, I still do think like he is the first choice striker for Liverpool, playing really well at the moment, and he could have gotten so much more against Brentford last week. But that said, he's already registered 1 goal and 1 assist this season so far in only 2 games. And he is obviously ahead of Nunes in the pecking order. Yes, Nunes has been progressively getting more minutes and could continue to take minutes off Jota. But even so, in about 17 minutes, I could expect Jota to get a return against Manchester United. So hoping for things there. For Smith Rowe against Ipswich, this is a plump fixture for him. And he is also someone who has been progressively getting more and more minutes. 62 minutes in the first game, 68 in the second game. So hoping that he pushes past 17 minutes. In general, we just want our attackers to play as many minutes as possible. But even, in the kind of 60-70 minutes he's getting against Ipswich, I do expect him to get a return there. It's Gordon here in midfield, which I'm kind of the most concerned about. On paper, it is one of the tougher fixtures. But I do also understand that at home, Newcastle are a slightly different outfit, and that is currently what is pushing me to just keep him for the time being instead of selling him. I was quite tempted to just offload my Newcastle assets looking at the way that they played against Bournemouth, but Gordon has bought himself 1 more week in my team after scoring that goal against Bournemouth, and I also do think like if Gordon is someone that is going to leave my team next week, it opens up a route for Salah as well. So I don't necessarily have to sell Saka to get to Salah. I could sell Gordon. So just some things that I'm thinking about in terms of transfer combinations later on. But Gordon gets 1 more week. If he pops off against Tottenham, it might be quite hard to sell him in game week 4 when he has Wolves. So we'll see what happens there. For Saka, he has Brighton at home. Now, this could seem like a slightly easier fixture on paper, but I look at it and I think Brighton have been playing quite well, right? So I wouldn't be super surprised if Saka walks away with, maybe just 1 return, just an assist or something like that, because Brighton are pretty solid as a defensive unit. So I'm not expecting too much from Saka, but the fact that he's also on penalties as well just makes me put the vice-captain's armband on him, because the captain's armband is on Haaland up front, right? So this is my midfield, and I've again just done Nkunku to Rogers to bank the extra 1.5. Let me know who your Nkunku replacements are for this week, but if not, let's take a look at the forwards. So up front, to wrap things up, it's Isak and Haaland with the captain's armband. For Isak, you see here that I am doubled up the Newcastle attack, so I really need them to pop off. Isak has been quite disappointing of late, only getting 1 assist in the first 2 game weeks. He really should have gotten more, honestly, looking at the numbers that he's been putting up. Individually, he's alright, but Newcastle's attack as a whole just have not been performing. So hopefully this is the game that they turn it around. If not, realistically speaking, it could be the last week for both of them. Now for Haaland against West Ham away, West Ham defensively really not the best, so I'm hoping that Haaland does well. And he has the captain's armband ahead of Saka, and I thought that this would be straightforward, so I really have not shifted the captain's armband away from Haaland. But when I look at the predicted points, it's actually pretty close for players like Haaland, Saka, and even Palmer as well. So let me know down below who you guys are captaining, especially if you have, say for example, Haaland and Palmer. I think that comes a bit closer. Who would you be captaining in that position? So for myself, I'm likely going to captain Haaland ahead of Saka, and I'll confirm again on the deadline stream, as always, 3 hours before the deadline on Saturday this week. But when I look at this team, the starting 11 overall, I think this is very likely how I'm going to line up. The only player I haven't mentioned is João Pedro, who's on the bench. There was actually a possibility or something that I could have done, which was to bench Nkunku and start João Pedro against Arsenal, but I just felt like there were gains to be made by getting the better fixture for Rodgers here against Leicester, and then banking the extra money for future transfers later on as well. So that's why I've made the move, and I've stuck with benching João Pedro. He is someone that definitely would come into the team from game week 4 onwards, where they have Ipswich, and then in game week 5 there's Nottingham Forest as well. So he's someone that's just waiting on the wings for me to come into the team. But if not, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please drop a like. Please do subscribe as well if you are new around here. Let me know down in the comments below how your teams are looking like for game week 3. And I'll see you guys on the deadline stream, as always, 3 hours before the deadline. Bye bye.